Welcome to Louisiana Heartbeats. I'm Sudie Landry, your host. And with me today we have our author, who is Dianne Dempsey Legnon, who has published a book called The Bel Air Cove. This is a book that is going to let you see the insight into life, love, loss regarding the Prairie Cajun village of the past. And I'm going to welcome to the show, and thank you so much for coming.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, Sudie.
Well, it took a little while, but you finally made it, right?
Yes, traffic, train traffic.
Nothing stops Louisiana Heartbeats. Dianne, is this your first published project?
This is my first published novel.
All right, novel. What is the difference between a novel and a book? Regular book, do you
A regular book, well, it depends. You have fiction, you have nonfiction. A novel is a longer version of a short story.
Thank you.
You're
Some
welcome.
of us did not know that. Okay, what inspired you to write Bel Air Cove?
My father's parents were star-crossed lovers who did not marry each other, married other people. And because of different drama in their lives, came back together later in life. And my father, who is 93, asked me to write their story. But as a child, when I heard the story, I heard it incorrectly. The tragic incident one of the tragic incidents that caused them to get back together, I misunderstood. And then when he asked me to write the story, unfortunately, the misunderstanding was a much more titillating idea than the truth. So therefore, I wrote it as a fiction novel, started out as a short story, not realizing that it would become the larger book that it did. But as I delved into the setting of the story, which was 1910, a small Cajun village, an actual village. Bel Air Cove is a small community outside of Ville Platte, Louisiana.
Let's get a shot of that book, guys.
I began to recall all of the important things about our Cajun culture and wanted to make that the background setting of the story. And with that, put the love story in the front of it. And fortunately for me, I had a primary source, both my parents,
Wow.
about what the Cajun culture was like in that time period. So there were many phone calls back and forth as I would write the story. For example, Dad, how did you cut the grass? I know you didn't have a lawnmower. And I would get the story. And those became the ordinary day-to-day happenings that were going on in the background of this dramatic story that took place in the front. So I was able to talk about the boucherie, the canning of corn, slaughtering of the calf, where the whole community would take turns sharing the meat, so because they didn't have the refrigerators, of course. Picking cotton, life as a farmer, horse racing, and of course the strong Catholic community that most of those Cajun families were a part of. All that entered into play in the setting and the backdrop for this love story.
Love story. All right, in Cajun land, I had no idea there were so many wonderful stories. I married 47 years ago, and I came to Cajun land from North Louisiana. It didn't seem like that far away, but big difference in the tradition. And I had the honor and the pleasure of being able to take part in the boucheries and some of this old-time stuff that people don't do today, but a lot of people still do.
We have so many people who are striving to preserve the Cajun culture and the Cajun traditions today, and that's a wonderful legacy for all of us to have. The stories have been interesting. I had one lady who read the book and who knew me on a personal level and said it was such an amazing thing that I was able to capture the Cajun culture so well, never realizing that I could because I had lived this.
Well, you know, your lifestyle here in Cajun land, people just automatically do not realize what a treasure is here until people like me, transplants, come into the area, or visitors come to the festivals. And before you know it, we have Cajun stuff all the way in Arkansas and Texas. Mardi Gras has now graduated further
Absolutely, Sudie. And in reverse, Cajuns are everywhere now, as told by the sales of the book. Book has been sold as far as Australia,
Wow.
Canada, United Kingdom, and I'm always amazed. I said, how did those Cajuns find me? But we're good at those kinds of things.
Well, talking about your book, where is it available around our local area?
You could check it out possibly at Barnes & Noble and online, Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay, so are you planning on any book signings in the future, or have you done any recently?
I have done many book signings over the last 2 years since it's been published, but there are none recently. The most recent book signing was at the Louisiana Library Association Conference this
Okay.
past spring, because it was named one of the notable books of Louisiana.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank
that
you.
is interesting, and what an honor, right?
I have been amazed. This little book has a life of its own.
Well, I think now's a good time to bring up a little fact that you shared with me at a recent author gathering by the Writers Guild of Acadiana, that you are a retired librarian.
Absolutely.
Retired but active.
Retired and active, working on my next book.
And can you give us a little insight into what genre that book's going to be?
Well, I always seem to take the hard road and do things that are unfamiliar to me. For example, I didn't know when I was writing this first novel that that was what I was doing. So there were many trials and many rewrites as a result. Now I'm on this horse doing something new, and it's a nonfiction book. And it's my father's, it's a documentary retelling of my father's World War II experience.
Wow.
And it's been quite an undertaking, because as a young Southern woman, the World War was not in my genre of reading material or interest. You know, in high school, I studied the notes, took the tests, made good grades, but then forgot about it. So it has opened up the most remarkable experience for me to be researching that book.
This is amazing. This is awesome, because what I'm going to tell you, you may already know, but one of the authors, called the Cookbook Dude, Neil Bertrand, is doing the same thing for his father.
No,
and
I
he's
didn't know
at the
that.
very end of getting together, and he says it is a nightmare, but it's worth it, and he has
Yes.
pictures. And so he's gone through a series of trials and all this, and he's close to finishing this project.
He's close to finishing. You need to get us together.
That's right. That's what I'm going to do. I am going to tell him about you, send you his information, and I can tell you that he will be glad to tell you how to go about it, maybe, and help you not go through some of the areas that he found that he had to go back and rewrite. But all in all, it's awesome. Your take from the woman's view and his take from the man's view is going to be awesome. And it's all about the heritage, the father. His father was also a painter. Look at the history of your family, you know?
Right.
So this is great. Cajuns are about time letting people know they don't just cook well. They can paint, they can eat, and they can write too, right?
They are an intelligent group of people, multi-talented, creative in every aspect.
And proud of it.
If you think of just what they had to do to survive, there is enough creativity there to last a lifetime.
Well, you had me by the food by the first time I put a bite in my mouth. I will never see a size 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 again, but who cares? That
Oh,
food
I'm
never
with
tasted
you.
so delicious. And thanks to my mother-in-law, who's now deceased, I have took upon myself to save a lot of her recipes so that I can share it with my family. And it's amazing. You're doing this for your history, and me is involved in a lot of cookbooks.
That's wonderful. I understand.
And that's my part of writing, is the
Yes,
cookbooks for
the
the,
cookbooks.
heritage. Mm-hmm.
Cookbooks are a wonderful thing, but you know, those Cajuns, they never follow it exactly.
No. I had to actually watch my mother-in-law, and after several years of marriage, I finally realized she had a secret ingredient that she was not telling anybody, and I caught her by accident. And all that time, I did not understand why my rice and gravy didn't turn out as well as hers did. And everyone else seemed to know that secret but this person. And she said she wasn't trying to hide it. It was just a normal thing for her, but it's the one step.
She didn't give it a thought.
That's right. That's right. Dianne, okay, we now know what inspired you to write Bel Air Cove. We now have a little insight into, you and what it's about and the family. As a retired librarian, I understand you are connected with a writing project also?
Yes, the Acadiana Writing Project at UL of Lafayette. It's USL in my day. I'm a consultant with that organization. It was originally begun here at UL by Dr. Ann Doby, and it's part of the federal national writing, the government national writing project, which was a federally funded program to teach teachers how to teach writing, and then send us out as consultants to move that forward.
Wow.
And the initiative was such a wonderful concept that it moved across the country. And as a result, the writing process is an integral part of most of the schools in our country, both in rural and urban areas.
I remember vaguely, you mentioning that. That is something I wish that we could have you come back and talk on, and that way share with what's going on, because the different organizations that I am connected to and part of mainly is to reach the children, the young adults, with education and encouragement to write and give them outlets of choice and encourage them to continue on and making their dreams come true.
Writing process for young children is a remarkable adventure. As a second grade classroom teacher, when I just got into all of this, I was teaching my young students about writing and giving them the freedom to express themselves and worrying about the grammar and the punctuation later on, getting the content right first. And I can remember one of my young students, and I won't mention names, but he's a principal today.
Wow.
He ran up to me on a Monday morning after we were out, and he said, "I know what I can write about now. I rode in an 18-wheeler this weekend."
Wow.
So he made the connection that we all have a story to tell, whether we're a child or an adult, and those stories are worth writing about.
And if someone doesn't write them, they get lost. Thank God,
Exactly.
literally, for authors, journalists,
Yes.
photographers that paint their stories and pictures. Give us a little background on you. Let's find out who Dianne is.
Dianne is a Cajun girl. Grew up in Opelousas. I had family in Lawtell and Ville Platte. My maiden name is Fontenot. And just like the George Rodriguez painting of the family under the tree, everybody eating, that was Sunday. One Sunday we were in Ville Platte, the next Sunday we were in Lawtell.
Wow.
Big Cajun family round the table outside, enjoying meals together. And then we moved to Opelousas, and I lived there all of my childhood was there. Graduated from Opelousas High School and then went on to USL.
Yay!
Married and stayed here in Lafayette, my home. Stayed home for a little while raising a child, and then went to school. We went back to school together, I should say. And it wasn't until she was in 9th grade that, the typical mother cries when they send their child off to kindergarten. I didn't do it till 9th grade because that's the first time we didn't go to the same school together. She was a little bit embarrassed.
It's amazing that, I was thinking about that the other day. My little grandson's mother is a school teacher. Mm-hmm. And right now he's in pre-K, and she's actually a pre-K teacher. But it's nice because I asked her, how does he respond when he sees you crossing the school grounds? And she says, we just wave. But it must be, that would be an interesting take to find out what it's like to be the child of a school teacher.
My daughter says she loved it.
Yeah.
She's grown on her own and living in Florida now, but she has fond memories of that time. We went to school together, we came home together. The only thing, when she was in the same grade that I taught, when she was in 2nd grade, I had a mutual teacher friend who taught 2nd grade and had a child the same age. So we thought it would be best if we swapped children and didn't teach our own.
Yes, and I think that was a very good decision because I'd asked that question also. And at the school he's attending, they said, oh, no. We really try to, not let that happen.
Right.
But
in my career, I stayed at one school for 34 years, which is where I retired from. I was a teacher. of several
Where?
different grades. Our Lady of Fatima School.
Okay, we wanted to ask that question.
I was an administrator there for a brief period, and then I became the librarian. All jobs that I loved. It's a place that's very near and dear to my heart. It was always more than a job, it was a family.
That's true. That's true.
And was fortunate that my child could come and go with me.
That was a blessing.
That was such a blessing.
Wow, wow. Well, it sounds like that you've had a very rewarding, not only life as a working parent, but also as a educator. And is there anything else you'd like to share with what's going on?
My life has been blessed. And if we'd like to talk about writing process for a
Yes,
little
yeah,
bit.
you mentioned that earlier.
I
Yes.
thought that your viewers may be interested in knowing if they want to write a book.
Yes.
How do they get started? What do you do? Those were the questions that puzzled me. And having had some background because of the Acadiana Writing Project, I was able to have access to numerous books and numerous people with the skills who could direct me in my writing. And in one of those books, I kept telling myself I could not write this family story. I didn't have the skills to do it. And I read one of the famous authors, and I cannot remember whom it was right now, but I read so many. And she said, don't write a novel, just write one page, one story, one chapter. And it was like a light bulb went off, and I said, well, I know I can write a short story, so I'll just write a series of short stories, and maybe it could then become a book. And that's how I got started with the novel. But as a spin-off from the writing project, from the national and then the local writing project, we formed writing groups, different groups of people with common writing interest. So I've been with a group of ladies, dear friends, for I think we're almost going on 20 years.
Wow.
And we meet at least twice a month. We bring our work to the table, and we are each other's best editors.
Well, this is a serious group of ladies. That
Yes.
is really stories within stories,
Yes.
I am sure.
And several of them have also been published.
Well,
at
we need
which
to invite them to the Writers Guild
I-
of Acadiana and share some of those stories
I'm
with
sure they
us.
would love to. I'm sure they would love to. And so that keeps me inspired and keeps me working.
How long ago did you retire, you say?
Oh, it's only been a few months.
Okay.
This school year.
You haven't
I'm
been retired since I talked to you then. You haven't been idle. Let's reword
No,
that.
I haven't been idle. And my parents are still vibrant at 93 and 89. And they do have health issues, of course, and I'm blessed with a large family, but it's still taking the village.
And where are you
care for them.
residing again?
I live in Lafayette, and they're in Opelousas.
Okay, so you have a little family here and there, but you are yourself living in Lafayette at
Yes.
this time. Okay, well, let me ask you this. You have any characters? I noticed you had a little note there about favorite character.
I'm often asked that question, out of all the characters in my book, which one is my favorite? And normally the reader identifies with Angelique, which was the main character in the story. But Eula May was my favorite character in the story. She was an African American, and she was a very strong-willed, feisty young girl, and she never wavered from giving her opinions, and she was loving. She loved Angelique, the main character, unconditionally. She was a hard worker, and she was an insightful person who was with her from the beginning of the story to the end.
Wow. Well, listen, I want to add something. I noticed that the graphics, for some reason, are not showing up, so I want to be sure and say that if anyone is interested in learning more about who you are, Dianne, I would like for them to check out and write this email down, and that would be DEMDIANNE@AOL.com. There you go. Would you flash that on the screen again? We were kind of missing that for a while there. Appreciate that. There it is. It's up on the screen. Her email, if you would like to check it out and see what's going on with her, and she can possibly answer some questions. So we encourage you to maybe send her a shout out there. So now we got the graphics up there. I feel a whole lot better, so keep on talking there.
I'm glad for that. I published independently, which I
Okay.
know a lot of writers are interested in doing. Self-publishing, independent publishing, different people waver over the term, but I chose that venue because of a time frame I was working in. My parents are elderly, and I wanted them to see this book in their lifetime. It was their story that they requested from me. So, but fortunately, we're still writing together. But I wanted to make sure that this book, I didn't wait 10 years. You hear so many stories how you turn down and you turn down, and it takes forever. I think what really spurred me on when I read it, I think the author of the book The Help, was turned down 24 or 34 times before it was published. And I didn't have that luxury of time.
Okay.
So I chose an independent publisher that I knew had others that I had worked with, which was Lulu Publishing.
That is the second time that name has come up.
And they have all kinds of various packages which you can decide. You can simply have them print the book for you, or you can take it all the way into where they do an entire marketing campaign for you, as well as publishing.
So it's an outlet that can help that author
Yes.
and
yes,
encourage
and
that author.
And they can take it as far as they want.
Well,
with
that is great
company.
information. We're always willing to share that here on a Acadiana Open Channel. Anything going on in the community that's going to be an asset and assist and encourage our community people, it's worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lulu Publishing is an outlet for those that need help in every area, it sounds like.
And there are many, many. If you go online,
Yeah.
you could check it out
There you go.
and try different ones and see which one is a good fit for your particular writing project.
No story is too short to write.
That is correct.
And the reason I bring that up is that I'm sitting at this table being blessed by being able to interview different people and let them share their stories.
Mm-hmm.
But Dianne, this was not my idea. My idea was to be on radio like I was and sharing my little 5-minute stories, not on camera, but just letting people hear the stories. That's what I had planned. But obviously God had a different plan, and all of a sudden I had the opportunity to come here, and I took advantage of it. And Acadiana Open Channel gives people their dreams. Like that publishing company, Acadiana Open Channel offers a way, where there seems to be no way, to talk about what you want to talk about. So my goal is showcasing people like you who have dreams. Some have fulfilled their dreams, some are working on their dreams, some don't know if they should work on their dreams. And it's all about being encouraged. And so there's so many outlets out there that if someone really is interested, there's a way where there seems to be no way. And I am glad, just like you came to an author signing out there that we had at another location, JNR, who has been so kind to let us have that building. And I feel like we have gained so much more by knowing you and possibly having you come back to the Writers Guild later and sharing, getting connected with serious-minded people. It sounds like you have a lot you can bring to the table. And I thank you for coming on the show today to share that with us also. And I can see that it's getting to the end of the show, and so I want to thank you for coming on the show. Dianne Dempsey Legnon. She's the author of Bel Air Cove. She's much more than an author. She's been a teacher, she's an educator, she's a motivator, it sounds like. And is there anything you'd like to say in closing of the show before I tune us out?
I want to thank you and AOC for this opportunity to present Bel Air Cove to the public.
And I would like to invite anyone out there that is watching this television show to maybe shoot her an email, ask her some questions, find out what else she's out there doing. Until then, tune in every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock on Channel 16. You just might see people like Dianne Dempsey Legnon, or even myself, talking and educating and inspiring you to become who you need to be to get where you need to go. Thank you for watching. Tune in, and we thank you, and you have a great day.